How do you create a success identity? That's exactly what we're discussing today on the Manifesting Guide. But just before we do that, if you're tired of pushing and forcing yourself to get things done, get your Manifest Without Force or Frustration gift at highertrueself.com. It's completely free. Hey, and if you want notifications when I release a new episode, go to highertrueself.com/and subscribe. This is Aryana Rollins. You're listening to the Manifesting Guide podcast, and let's get on to episode 53, Creating a Success Identity. I'm so happy you're here. First, let me ask you, are you happy with your current identity? What do I mean by identity? Well, it's how you see yourself. It's your self-talk. It's your definition of your function, purpose. It's you to you. So are you currently happy with your identity? How would you know? When you lay your head down at on the pillow at night to go to sleep, do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel good about how you used your time in the day? Do you feel good about your relationships? You feel seen, supported, loved, and you are loving and supporting of others. That's an indication. So a success identity is something that you have to on purpose create. The world doesn't create it for you. Gosh, we know enough about the schooling system and the limitations of our parents. No fault, no blame. Oh my gosh, parents are under such pressure. They've got to make a living. They've got to take care of their own personal needs, their own health, their own emotional needs. Maybe they're nurturing a relationship if they're married, right? If there's a husband and wife situation, or husband, wife. And then they've got to be responsible for a new human being to train them and prepare them to be in the world. Oh my gosh. I don't think most people would apply for that job if they knew what it was going to take. So we're created, we're raised, we're nurtured, we are formed into a particular type of person. Your identity could even be influenced by the country you were born. I've been watching the whole series Downton Abbey on it's on Prime, I think, Prime Video. And I love it because I love England. I lived there for not enough years. I used to say many years, but it's not enough years. And my father was born in England. So I've got an identification with being, I guess, genetically British, but obviously I don't have the accent. I wasn't raised there. So some people can have an identity that's associated with where they're born, their accent. I know when I was living in England that if someone had, maybe less now, but if they had, the proper King's English or Queen's English accent, that was posh, right? And everybody wanted that. Or if they had a Cockney accent, they were judged. And that our identity can get so influenced by the outside world. That's not ideal, would you say? No. So if someone hears your accent and then you see on their face, oh, that's who you are. Or if you've got a great accent, oh, that's who you are. And then so what happens is that you've got this feedback loop going on outside of yourself. So you feel good when someone recognizes you, and you feel ooh when someone doesn't. That's normal, sadly. And that's human nature, to be influenced by how others perceive us. But what if we had an identity that was curated, created by ourselves? It wasn't influenced by our educational system, our parenting, our relationship partner, if we have children, how our children treat us and think of us, our friends, our career, the success in our bank account, What if it was not at all influenced by the outside? Can you even imagine the sense of freedom the fullness of expression, and might I say, the fullness of you stepping into your purpose, maybe stepping into, aligning with your highest potential. Wow, how do you do that? How do you create a success identity? Well, first thing is recognizing that the identity that you have is not yours. Isn't that interesting to think about that? The identity and how you see yourself and how you think of yourself was not chosen by you. It was a result of your life experiences. That's the first step, is recognize who you think you are was not created by you. And it may not even be who you are. That's a whole other story. The second is to tap into that sense of meaning and purpose for your life. Now, if you've never had one, I can fully relate, because we go through life following a certain path, get an education, go to college, get married, buy a house, have 2.2 kids, and that's a proven path. Most people follow it, so it's got to be right. We don't even consider whether it's what we want to do. We only really look at things when something's going wrong in our life. We often don't pay attention to our health until we're feeling a bit sick, or we've got a pain, or we're not sleeping well. And then we go to the doctor. The same thing works with our identity. If life is going good, and we've got all this massive success, great relationships, big bank account, we often don't pay attention to it. Life's going good, but life has a way of informing us. We stub our toe and we feel some pain. Identity is one of those things where we can feel pain. We recognize that maybe we don't even like ourselves, but we don't know how to change it. So realize that identity is the first companion of self. Let me explain that. When you're on your own, you're not working, you're not relating to somebody else, you're on your own, how you feel about yourself, how you think about yourself, that's the companion. That's you. And identity is the first. It's the companion of self. So to be good with yourself, no matter what's going on in the outside world. A quick story, and then I'm going to get back to how to create a success identity. So having been self-employed for, it'll be 18 years now. I started in business for myself in 2005. And when I first started, I was embarrassed that I was working from a home office and I was raising a young child, and I would, shush my son if he was making noises, if I was on a call. And I had this perception, this view, that I was supposed to sound like some corporation. It's now not only cool, but it's very common for people to run their business from home and be self-employed. So my identity got very impacted by if my son was making noise, if I had had a conversation with someone and they chose not to work with me, or that I had done a training and there were no enrollments. And I would notice myself going up and down. My confidence would sometimes be in the toilet, and sometimes my confidence would be good. Salespeople know this. When's the best time to make calls on prospects? Right after you've had a sale. Why is that? Their identity is confirmed. It was confirmed by the person purchasing. So recently, and this is not an ideal story, but I'm going to be completely sincere with you because it's something that I've struggled with. So recently, I hosted a masterclass, and I had not promoted it to the normal extent. I think I sent one little PS email out. So I was thinking, well, I'll cancel it, right? Nobody even knows about it. So I go in and I check it. Uh-oh, people signed up. So I guess I'm going to go ahead with the masterclass. So I sent out another little kind of PS, join us. So on the day, I was actually really pleased with the presentation. I refine every time I teach a class. I turn up, nobody's there. Nobody's there. I can't tell you how long it's been, 10 years or longer, where no one turns up for something that I've created. And I thought, you know what am I going to do? I'm going to just press record and I'm going to teach it like there's a full room. And then people started coming in. So at the end of it, I was just reflecting back on how did it go? How was my performance? And I felt really good. I felt uplifted. I felt proud of myself on how I handled it. Instead of canceling it and going off to the rest of my day, I pressed record and I turned up. That never would have happened 10 years ago. I would have been so discouraged, so disappointed. I probably would have canceled it, or if I had done it at all, I would have been doing it with a limp. What a funny expression. I would not have been confident and present and giving the people who did turn up my all, because my identity would have been influenced by how I was turning up, how people were responding to it. And if no one's there, no one's responding. It's really hard to get a buoyant, confident identity if no one's turning up. So I was really proud. It was kind of a test in a way, a measure of how far I've come, that the outside world does not impact who I am inside. The outside world, in terms of my business success and progress, does not impact my sense of well-being in myself. Yes, I can get worried. Gosh, I'm not perfect. I'm not a little Buddha headed by any means. But I notice that my progress does not tear me down. It doesn't beat me up if it's not where I'd hoped it would be. The freedom I feel now is priceless. It's priceless because I can just turn up and be myself. I can expose my warts and all, not that I have any warts, but you know what I mean, and not have someone judge me. Because guess what? The only way they can judge me is if I'm allowing them and their view inside of me. I'm completely free to be me. Okay, that's a big part of success identity. And I kind of went down a little rabbit hole, but hopefully that was helpful. But the piece I want to talk about is creating a success identity on purpose. How do you define who you are? How do you choose what you're going to allow impact you and influence how you think about yourself? How do you choose? If you're having a rough time in your relationship, does that impact you? If your health and you're suffering, does that impact you? I'm not saying it shouldn't by any means at all. But what do you allow to change your sense of self? Your confidence, your well-being. What do you allow in? That's a deep question. Really is. And again, there's no right or wrong answer, because if we want to be a loving, supportive partner and our partner has a conversation with us and says, hey, I don't really feel seen, loved, heard, supported. Well, that's going to impact you, right? But what do? Do you defend yourself? Do you say, hey, but remember when I did this? Or do you take it in? Do you listen? Then do you go back and in your inner quietude say, where am I not turning out for my partner? How can I change it? Is there a behavior? Is there a habit that's kind of snuck in that I'm taking them for granted? that's something you can do about it. I love, love, love that part of the work. In the Highest Potential program, I teach ways of inner awareness and inner perspective so that we can consciously, on purpose, change those behaviors. So we turn up more powerfully, we turn up more lovingly, and guess what? We have greater success because we are now practicing self-awareness. We see ourselves as we are, not being criticized by the outside world or deficient or defunct in any way. We see ourselves as we are. How do we do that? Well, we do that through this deep work called true self-alignment. Deep as in profound. It's amazing because we get to see ourselves from that wise perspective of our inner being, that part of us that was not messed with by our education, by our how we were parented, by our relationships, by our how we turned up as a parent if you're a parent, how we are in our business, that our inner being, our higher self, that authentic, pure essence of who we are, it's not messed about by the outside world. And when we have a connection with that and when we've got a way to communicate, it gives us a perspective that's beyond belief helpful to navigate this world. So that's one thing. Second thing is to clear the blockers, the habits, the behaviors, the ways of relating to others that are not successful. Whether that's in your partnership or in your work, your career. Maybe you had a conversation with someone and they were just perfect, a perfect new client. But then they said, no, timing's not good right now. And you get off the call and you're all disappointed. You're all beating yourself up. You really love to work with them. What do? Do you allow that to impact your day? Does it define who you are? For most people, it would. Or do you sit down and reflect on what could I have done better? What did I do well? That's one of the exercises we teach in the Highest Potential, is that self-reflection. But it's not from the part of you that's going to beat you up, but it's from that unbiased observer so that you can identify the patterns, resolve them. So the next conversation you have, you're performing at a higher level. And your expectations maybe are more accurate than where they were before. So what do I mean by that? Expectations. You want someone to hire you, and perhaps you were not a good fit for that person. So you're dealing in a new form of reality, not from overinflated hopes, but rather what's right for the situation, what's right for me, what's right for the other person. One of the things I love is whenever anyone's setting an objective in the work that I teach is we have an insurance statement. Please make this happen in ways that are for the highest good of me and of all involved. And that ensures whatever objective you're working on is going to unfold in ways that are not going to be harmful to you. You're not going to overwork, overstress yourself. Your relationships are going to be maintained and intact while you're pursuing your deeply desirable big objective. There's comfort in that because I'm not someone who does the Nike just do it. It's not me. Because if I'm feeling hesitancy or reluctance or anything going on inside of me, that's a message. Now, it may be a blocker, a self-defeating habit message, but it's a message, and I pay attention to it because I take that as feedback. Oh, I'm not performing optimally, and I can do something with it. That's one of the things that I love in the Highest Potential program is there's so many tools and resources to create that success identity when we're feeling off track. Okay, we're going to start to wrap up now. So just 3 things I covered first. How do you feel about yourself? How would you define your identity? Do you feel on track? Do you feel like you're living a meaningful, purposeful life? Second, how do you define yourself, your identity? What are your feedback loops? Third, what is a success identity? How can you create one yourself? That's the last thing I'm going to mention, and then we'll close off the podcast. I don't know of any other program out there better than the highest potential program to create a success identity. Whether it is you want to grow your income or you want to find the career that would make an impact and have meaning for you in the world and in yourself, or you want to improve the quality of your relationship or overcome a health issue or shed weight and get to your natural healthy weight and feel confident, love your body again. Whatever it is, there are blocks in the way. And your identity is not equal to your goal or objective. How do I know that? Because you'd have it already. If your identity is ready and equating what it is, the goal that you want, the objective you want, you will naturally and successfully accomplish it. You can't not. So it's all the inner work, getting your identity accurate and curating it, curating your identity from you and your inner being, not from the outside world. I would love to share that with you. I'll put a link in the show notes. If you have interest, let's have a chat. Highest Potential program is run once a year, and we are starting soon. Thank you so much for listening. And if you've enjoyed the episode and you'd like to get notifications of future episodes, go to highertrueself.com/podcast. And if you would love to get things done without forcing yourself, get your Manifest Without Force or Frustration gift at highertrueself.com/freebies. Enjoy your day and look out for those feedback loops that impact your sense of self and do something about them. Your feedback loop is with your inner being and yourself, and that's it. Don't let anybody mess with it. Bye for now.